When I have sex with my boyfriend I want him to get me pregnant, but I really don't want children. I only want it when I have sex. Since I've been with my boyfriend that every time we have sex I want him to get me pregnant, but only when we have sex. I honestly don't feel like having kids right now. I'm going to college and I feel like I'm too young for that. But when I have sex with my boyfriend I just think that I want him to get me pregnant. I talked about it with him and he thinks it must be normal, my most basic instinct that must be made conscious in those moments, but it continues to worry me. Is it weird for a grown man to drink milk? Okay, so I was just enjoying my morning today. Went for a walk and bought a 12 ounces milk. I found the nearest bench and was just drinking my milk when a few teenagers passed by. They were laughing to themselves. One of them said, "Bro must have ain't been breastfed, I don't understand this comment." And another said, "What kind of grown-ass man drinks milk?" I can't stop thinking about this encounter. I feel so embarrassed. My daughter disowned me. My mental health has never been better. I should warn everyone that my post may be triggering if you've had a parent dealing with mental illness. I also talk about being guilty of child abuse. I, 64F, want to start off by saying I wasn't a great mom and have no delusions about the kind of parent I was. I have mental health issues and that made it harder for me to be a parent. If I had known how that would have been, I'd have put her up for adoption at birth. My mental health issues started in pregnancy. My mom died when I was 5 months pregnant and we were close. My dad committed suicide shortly after my baby was born as he couldn't live without my mom. It was awful and I've never really recovered from that. I had postpartum issues that never seemed to resolve themselves. I only had the one child because of how severe they were. I don't want to get into details with strangers over the internet, but my issues were bad and it caused me to be an awful parent. I wasn't present. I look back on it now and I see how my daughter could call me emotionally and verbally abusive. I'm ashamed of who I was and the kind of parent I was. My ex is a wonderful father who protected our daughter from me and he made sure she was raised right and safe. I'll give him that. I do blame my mental health for being a poor parent, but I understand I am responsible for my actions and words towards my daughter and I have to live with the kind of parent I was. I divorced her father when she was about 11. I did cheat on him. I know what I did was wrong. At the time, I was going through a manic episode and was hospitalized. CPS got involved and my ex got full custody, and even if that didn't happen, I'd have given him full custody anyways because my daughter hated me. When she was 16, I moved several states away when our relationship was at its lowest point. Her last words to me when I moved was "good riddance." Over the years, she begrudgingly visited me a few times, but it was clear she didn't want to and was only doing so out of obligation because I was her mother. I've tried so hard to make amends over the years. She still didn't want to see me. Since she turned 18, I've seen her maybe 5 or 6 times for at most a week. The last time, I overheard her telling someone that she was counting down the days until she could leave. I would spiral for months after she visited me. The guilt at my failure as a parent ate me alive. I tried to rebuild our relationship but she wasn't interested. I don't blame her for that in the slightest. I know she spent a long time in therapy but I couldn't tell you what type or what she did. She never spoke to me about her therapy, as is her right. The final straw was during the early stages of pandemic. I was laid off from work and I tried talking to her more often. However, it became clear I was annoying her. Then one day she blew up at me and went into details about what an awful parent I was. I could see her point of view and she was right. I was the awful person she said I was when my bipolar disorder wasn't treated. I decided not to contact her until she contacted me. Something I should have respected and done years ago instead of constantly killing myself being the only one reaching out. It's been over 3 years. So I began working on myself about a year ago. Really working on myself. I went to therapy and I found the right combination of medication. I'm exercising and eating better. I'm not losing weight due to my medication, but I feel healthy despite being overweight. I've taken those feelings of guilt and put them towards putting myself on the right track. My therapist recently asked me if I plan to contact my daughter again. The question caused me to spiral again and I realized that was my answer. As much as I do love her and care for her, my answer is no. She doesn't want anything to do with me and hasn't for 3 years. I don't have any hope she will contact me again, given our last argument on the phone. It also just doesn't do me any good to have her in my life. I feel awful saying it, but I think it'll be 5 steps back if she comes into my life ever again. Isn't that an awful thing to say to someone I gave birth to? She's my responsibility, but it's just toxic for both of us. I ruined any chance of having a healthy relationship with her. I'm in the best place I've ever been in my adult life and I think the only way I'll stay in that place is if my daughter never comes back. It just makes me feel like an even worse parent. She has her dad's family and I heard she's close with her stepmom. So I think she's going to be okay without me. When I die, I'm leaving her everything I own as a way to recompense my sins towards her. It's not a lot, but it's what I can do. But I want to enjoy the rest of my life. Is that so bad? Do I deserve it? Probably not, but I'm still going to give it to myself. I'm learning to let go of the past and that means letting go of my daughter. The best way I can love her and myself is to stay away. I'm sorry I couldn't be the mother you needed, Sienna. I love you and hope you have a happy life. I had sex with a prostitute that was wearing my, now ex-girlfriend's clothes. I found out 2 months ago that my girlfriend cheated on me with one of her co-workers. When I confronted her about it, she immediately started apologizing, saying that it was just a one-time thing and that she was sorry. Being the dumbass that I am, I said that I forgave her, even though I didn't really, because this was my first actual relationship. I tried my hardest to get over it, but deep down I couldn't shake the feeling of disgust. Fast forward to yesterday, I decided that it's time to just break up with her, but I would get my revenge first, so I hired a prostitute to come over the next day while my girlfriend was at work. I don't know how this idea even came to me, but when the prostitute came over I asked if she could put on my GFS underwear and one of her dresses. She asked why, but I just told her it was a fetish of mine. After finishing and the prostitute left, I piled the clothes on her bed, it's technically her apartment, with the used condom at the very top. I'm now back at my parents' and waiting for her to finish work. I've been having sex with a guy for over a year and still don't know his name. Let me explain. He started out as my drug dealer, so he doesn't have his actual name in his Snapchat. Our relationship is and has always been purely sex and nothing more for over a year now, so I only have his Snapchat and nothing else. He had been my dealer for a while before we started having sex, so by the time we started I figured it would be awkward to ask his name. I just have really bad anxiety, so I didn't ask his name because I was too anxious about it being awkward, and it didn't really matter that much anyways. BC, we don't really talk and never hang out, we literally just fuck and that's it. And then the longer we've known each other the more awkward it would be to ask, so after a few months I told myself I just wasn't gonna ever know his name, and that's fine. Now we've known each other for like a year and a half and have sex on a regular basis, and I still don't know how his name and don't know how to ask because I couldn't possibly ask that now after all this time. I really will just never know his name, I think.